Hello, welcome everybody. We're gonna have another exciting chapter of a weekly Q&A. It's good to see you guys again. I know it's the new year. I know a lot of you guys have some time in the holidays to reflect new goals. I'll tell you a couple of my goals for you guys to demystify selling this whole agency, service, product, whatever you want to call it, make that whole journey easier for you by helping you guys to craft irresistible offers, then to streamline your delivery so that it's easy for you to deliver, and to help bring in employees and stuff like that so your systems run automatically, to help keep your clients happy. And then the other piece that we haven't really talked about, but it's a New Year's goal to help add to you guys, is to turn that into real long-term wealth. Not just to, I've had friends who run agencies, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Eventually they get burnt out, and if they don't plan for the wealth part of it, they end up broke or close to broke. I want you guys to be obscenely wealthy, you and your family. So those are some of the New Year's goals that we're going to be working on here. I don't have any big announcements other than that. I just wanted to tell you what my goal for you guys is this year. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you a weekly Q&A. Oh, and I'll tell you, by the way, the longer I stay with you, the better the questions I get, which just tells me the progress you guys are making. That's hella exciting. I know you guys can't see it, but the ocean is behind me. It's a little bit like right here at this level. It's always cool to be outside in January, I'll tell you. When I was living in Germany last year, it was not like that. And Kita, can anyone suggest some legit ways to find social media marketing clients for a freelancer? Listen, on Kita, finding clients is not as hard as we make it. They're everywhere. They're on every social media platform you're ever going to go to. You go on LinkedIn, they're there. You go on Facebook, they're there. The two biggest obstacles that keep people from finding clients are not where or legit methodologies, is they don't have a clear description of who they're trying to get. Like any client is a bad description, or any dentist, believe it or not, is still too broad. You want to be like laser targeted on a specific group of people. And then you got to get in front of those people and make them a meaningful offer. If you do those two things, what will happen is the clients getting will be easy. So we're doing actually a workshop this Wednesday, which is sold out, by the way, for those of you guys who are interested. Sorry, but is the way it is. But we're going to be doing some direct mail. That's one way you can get in front of a client, is figure out who you're trying to reach, send them a letter in the mail, make them an offer they can't refuse. You'd be amazed. Clients show up when you do that kind of thing. But it doesn't really matter. You can do this on LinkedIn. You can do this on Facebook. You can do this on email. You can do this in the real world. Figure out who you want to serve. Get in front of them and make them a meaningful offer. It does not need to be more complicated than that. It's not about some secret methodology. That is the secret methodology. Lana, I found once you have fundamental skills, prospecting, sales, fulfillment, recruitment, it becomes much easier to manage the boat and get ready for scale. Still, I want to remove obstacles and simplify, because those little things take you down. Out of all the things I want to focus on, what I can eliminate from that process. Who's been there? What have you done in the pre-scale stage? Lana, brace yourself for a Frankie Finn story. It's coming. I don't know why I got this weird, it's like blurry over here on this side. Must be a camera depth effect kind of thing. So Lana, back when I was an employee, I want to say like circa 2004, I used to have a job. It sucked. I hated it, but I did. And one of the jobs I worked for was this company called Anchor Lamina, and they made die sets. And one of the things that they had us do is we went through something called Japanese lean manufacturing. And what you do in Japanese lean manufacturing is you map out processes like religiously, step by step. And it was like literally like guy walks over, picks up the part, loads part on machine. Machine walks over here, loads it into the machine, pushes the button, waits 10 minutes to do this. Alarm goes off, and so you map it out in like really excruciating detail. And I'll tell you, not enough people do this in the agency space, and I'll tell you why this is so important, because at the end of it, we started to realize really simple, obvious things that would save us immense amounts of time and money that were just so obvious once you mapped out the process. I'll give you an example, okay? There was machine A and machine B, and they're like I don't know, like I'll use metric for you, but they're like 300 meters apart in the factory, and 1,000 feet or so for you American folks, and the person would walk back and forth between these machines all day long, and we're like, do they have to walk back and forth? Like, is there a reason why we couldn't put those two machines together and eliminate the walking? And it became really obvious that, like, yeah, let's just put them together. Nobody had ever thought of that, and we eliminated like 100 fucking journeys for this guy all day long. So there's really two things that keep people from scaling, because what ends up happening in the beginning is sales is your weak point, and so you need more sales. But eventually when you get good at sales, you'll have all kinds of delivery problems. I can't tell you the number of times I've like slowed down my sales because my delivery was like not completely ironed out in my agency journey. And so there's only two things that really keep people from scaling in a big way. One of those is they're doing too much custom work and they don't have a tight enough niche, and therefore they're doing AdWords for this person, SEO for that one, retargeting for e-commerce, email marketing, copy, funnel building, and they're just doing too much of everything. That's the biggest reason. I know in your case, because I know you personally, that's not the issue, but that's probably the biggest thing that keeps people from scaling. The second thing is their processes are just too fucking bloated. And so the first thing you want to do is think about what you can eliminate. And the easiest way to do this is to map this out, like I mentioned, the Japanese lean manufacturing. And you look at it and you say, what can be eliminated here? And sometimes you just try things and they don't work. Like, so for example, you know, we had for a lot of years, we ran a really, really successful webinar funnel. And I thought, do we really, like, as we mapped it out, like we would run an ad, they would have to go to a sign up page, they would register, they would wait for the webinar. And I thought maybe we could just run the ad right to the video and have the video qualify people. Why do we need them to register and do all those things? We have them in retargeting audiences anyway, so we can follow up with them later. And turned out that wasn't a good idea, but those are the kind of things that you have to try, is like, where can I eliminate? Then we also tried like eliminating sales calls and proposal. That turned out to be a winner, right? So the biggest thing that keeps people from scaling is if they have a tight niche, is that their processes are just too big. And I'll give you a real life example of how this worked successfully. So you know Kyle, obviously, from our mastermind. One of the things Kyle did is he was getting SEO clients, and then as a result, their website was just always fucking broken. So he would have to redesign their website, and they would get stuck in all this back and forth trying to redesign a client's website and getting logins. And when we looked at it, what we figured out that what was producing the results for the clients was his Google My Business listing. And so we said, why even do the website at all? And so we just went and trimmed that whole process out of the thing, which was like 80% of his headaches and misery. And all of a sudden, he only had his Google My Business listing. It sets the stage for scale a whole much easier. So you want to map out what you're doing for clients to produce results, and then look at it 80-20. Say, what's actually producing results here? Where are my assumptions, and what can I get rid of? I just heard a really awesome doctor talking about people would have him come and check their math all the time. And he said almost always he would find their math was correct, but their assumptions were incorrect. And so the assumptions led to bad data. And so what you want to do is focus on, what are my assumptions here and what can I eliminate? And then when you have a very lean process, that scales much better. That's a long answer, but it's a great question. Evan, does anybody use their VA to prospect for them on Instagram? I want my VA to be able to sign up into my Instagram profile and message pages, but have gotten one of my previous Instagram accounts permanently locked after they logged in a few times, likely because of the distance. Any tips to ensure this doesn't happen? Couple solutions. LastPass may help you. It's a free plugin that connects with your browser that allows you to share passwords freely and keep them private. But more than likely, it's probably better if they just create their own account for messaging people. Like I used to on LinkedIn, and this is kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's the honest to God's truth, is when I first started messaging lawyers and stuff on LinkedIn, I had a fake profile that was like my assistant, because I didn't want to like feel like I was hitting people up. And then if they wanted to do business, the assistant would pass them over to me. So you can always have an assistant that you pass people over to. So that's another possibility. Use that on Instagram. But mostly think about, if you want to be successful, like prospecting on Instagram, think about quality personalized messages with a great offer instead of like volume. That's where everyone else thinks. So if you're getting banned, almost likely it's because you're sending, or your VA sending like loads of low quality message instead of a few less high quality messages. Christine, how do you get most of your clients? Through Facebook ads, cold calling, or emails? Christine, we're a little all over the map. I'll tell you, for many years I was very Facebook ad dependent. So like, Facebook ads can definitely work. We've used a lot of LinkedIn. We've used direct mail. I've done a lot of in-person networking and speaking. So I can't say it's any one thing. But what I would suggest is firstly is figure out like what kind of clients you want to get, and then figure out where those people already are. So when I first started prospecting with lawyers, I did it mostly on LinkedIn, but not because I love LinkedIn. That's just where lawyers are. But it's different depending on your market, right? Like if you're trying to reach e-commerce people are probably sitting around hanging out in Facebook groups. So I go on Facebook, and if I'm trying to reach like a landscaper, somebody who's like very like hands-on in the real world, you're gonna have to reach them in the real world. You're gonna have to call them up or send them a letter in the mail, or go to a networking meeting, because you're probably not going to find those people sitting around hanging out in LinkedIn groups, because that's just not the nature of what they do. So the best thing you can do is figure out who you want, where they are, go there, and that will always be your best source of clients, is where they're hanging out already. They already assemble without you. The question is really where. Mark, any tips on converting more leads to appointments? What's your lead to appointment ratio? Which industry? I'm getting about 25% LTA in solar, but something tells me it could be higher. Definitely could be higher, Mark. I mean, obviously, like you are alluding to, every niche is a little bit different. And you, by the way, you can probably sell your thing without appointments. But I'll tell you, appointments is not the metric to be focused on, because I used to do this where I would get shit tons of appointments. And this was like before I had children, when I could actually do all my own sales calls, or I could hire somebody to do it. And I just had more time to run the business. My kids are out at the park right now playing with mommy. But when you just have like kids, you don't have all those time to do. And it forced me to kind of be more efficient and think less about how many appointments and think about what was the end result I'm trying to produce. So let me tell you what I mean. I would get like 40 appointments a week, and they would be, I should say like 20 to 40. It would, there's some flux in there. And I would get on the phone with people who were mostly like 3 out of 10 out of the idea with working with me. And it was tangible. You could feel them sitting there with their arms crossed saying, all right, marketing guy, convince me. And what I started focusing on doing since is doing more of the pre-selling and automated things, and only putting hoops people had to jump through. So I only get on the phone with people who are 8, 9s, and 10s, occasionally a 7, but are pretty warm to the idea of already working together. And it's a very different kind of call when you do those things. Now we don't even close them on a call. We just use videos and chat and those kind of things. But if you're going to jump on a call, the biggest thing I would say is start measuring, just like, like it's difficult to put an exact figure on it, but just when you jump on the phone with somebody, go, how warm were they out of 10? And then make your offer so easy to say yes to that you don't even need a phone call. And then what you'll find is those the number you're most after is the sales and the clients, not necessarily leads to appointments. So if you focus on that, getting higher quality people through those sales things, you'll end up getting probably less appointments but more sales. So that's what I would suggest. It's a little counterintuitive to how most people do it. Hugh Tam. That's a super cool, sounds like a Vietnamese name. Prospect asks, what makes you different from other agencies, and why would I buy specifically from you? How would you answer? Most of the time, if they ask you this, it means they clearly didn't understand the value, or they don't trust the value. This objection is pretty similar to, I'll think about it, I don't have the money. It's just a polite way of saying no. Any thoughts? Yes. I could probably do an entire sermon on the Mount on objections, so Hui Tam, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Firstly, here's the deal, okay? The way most people teach handling objections, in my opinion, is like, I won't want to say wrong, but horribly, horribly fucking inefficient. And what they do is, and I used to do this, by the way, when I was in high school, I had a job selling Cutco knives, and you go to like people's doors, and they had a really good objection handling script. And so you would handle the objection by saying, I can appreciate that, Mr. Prospect. You're saying it's too expensive, or you got to talk to your partner to tell you the truth, and then you would try and handle that objection. And that's totally fair and valid, but I'll tell you, handling objections at the end of a phone call or at the end of a sales process is the worst way to do it. So whenever you're getting a repeat objection, what you want to find out is the real fucking reason they're saying no. And there's usually like two kind of categories of reasons. One I would call the standard objection: time, money, want to talk to my partner, those kind of things. And then there's like the real one, which you're probably getting, the underlying kind, which is like, I don't see the value in it. And so what you really want to find out is why they don't see the value in it. I guess there's probably a third kind. I call those plan objections, is they don't believe that your plan is going to produce a result. And so the best thing to do is get those objections on the table, because what happens is you can deal with them before they come up. I'll give you a real life example. So I did like 40 sales calls in a row when I first broke into the real lawyer market, and they all told me, hey, this, as I would get close to the sale, they would say, this sounds really nice, but can you give me an example of like someone you worked with? Can I go talk to people? And they're basically saying, like, I'm really risk averse. I don't want to be the first one to try this, which sucked for me because I had no clients at the time. So I didn't have any, go talk to client A, B, and C. And so I would lose all these sales. And I started getting on the phone with people, by the way, and I started asking, hey, could you just leave some feedback about this call? And so I would get testimonials of my actual sales calls. And after about 10 sales calls, unsuccessfully I might add, I had about 10 testimonials. Then I made a little page of those 10 testimonials, and as soon as someone booked a call with me, it forwarded to that page of here's other lawyers saying this is good. Now, if you know the objection is going to be, I want to talk to other lawyers, and then immediately after booking, they see other lawyers, what happens is that objection just simply does not come up. I also experimented with like dealing with it up front by, they would tell me their situation. I'd say, you remind me of Bill in Georgia who has same kind of issue, right? And so that implies like you're not the first lawyer going through this thing. And what I found is once I dealt with that objection, it was just credit cards. So you're going to get the same objections to your offers over and over and over. So the sooner you can figure those out, the faster you can deal with them. And there's a simple way to get people to tell the truth. And you can just say, hey, listen, like whoever you're talking to, Joe, I would really, really appreciate your honest feedback. I'm not going to try and sell you or anything. It's clear this isn't a fit for you. But I would just love your brutal, honest feedback. Like, tell me everything that's wrong with this so I can go and fix it for the next person. And they'll tell you. They'll tell you, well, to be honest, I already got an SEO person, or any number of things that'll come up. But you'll get the truth, and then you think about how can I deal with that before it comes up, and then you won't have those objections. So that's my 2 cents on dealing with objections. I'm not saying you can't handle objections the way most people do, but if you deal with them before they come up, you'll just have money to collect. Our man Barnesy. Anyone tried pre-search for PPC ads instead of Google? Sure, much lower search volume, but still zero total cost. You just stake your pre-tokens crypto. You can get them back anytime you want. If anyone's interested, doesn't know crypto, or doesn't want to bother with it, we can partner. Barnesy, I just wanted to add, this is fucking awesome post. Thank you for sharing. Super interested, so I'll reach out to you personally on that. And for those of you guys who are interested, I would suggest pre-search as like a really cool tool for staking. It's basically like a basic attention token for those of you guys who use Brave browser. This is not really the crypto group. We got a crypto group called Crypto Passive Income. For those of you guys who are interested in that, come join it. We're talking about that stuff all day long, but I'll keep that answer short and sweet because it's not really on point for agency stuff. Jerry, when a client signs on, what is the best gift to send them? Low budget clients, so please don't say Cutco knives. I'm trying to be as good as Frankie Finn. Well, Frankie Finn's not the best either, Jerry. I'm still learning as I go. Client gifts are a great way, by the way, for those of you guys who don't use them, to keep clients to stay. And I'll tell you the most effective way I've ever used this. So if you notice when clients drop off in a cycle, so like when I would do SEO for years, I would notice that most of the time it took me like 6 to 9 months to get people results in like most major US cities. And at 4 to 6 months, most of our clients would start doubting us and leave, even though we could show them consistent movement. All those of you guys who work in Google understand in SEO, it's like a zero or hero kind of deal where you're either top 3 or you're not, right? So when you're top 3, the phone rings like crazy. When you're not, it doesn't. So they don't care that, hey, I moved this month from 17 to 14. So having said that, what I started to do is when I noticed clients would leave at 4 to 6 months is we started sending gifts right before they would typically leave, and it makes it a lot harder to leave. So I'll tell you a couple of gifts that I love going to, and we got a whole bunch of these in the mastermind for those of you guys who are listening who are mastermind members. In the bonus area of the members, there's a whole bunch of gifts. You don't have to figure this stuff out, but I'm big on sending pictures of clients' families. Especially my clients are lawyers. They're busy. They don't get to go home enough. You send them pictures they can hang up on their wall, their kids. Man, it's real hard to fire somebody right after that. I'll tell you, if it's just a low budget client, you don't really have a lot to work with, you can always send a handwritten personal note. I use Notarific. It costs about $1.50. They send the personalized note. They mail it out for you. There's nothing you got to do. You just type in the message and their address, put in your credit card, hit send. You can do it for a whole list of people at the same time. So you can send to 20 clients at once and just have it change the first name. It's really, really amazing technology. And then, of course, the number one gift that will get people to stay is when you actually pay close personal attention to them as people. Now, I use this a lot, but I'll give you 2 examples just so you can see this. I actually got this idea listening to Gary Vee on stage. He was talking about how his company, Wine Library, has something they call Department of Gratitude. So he had a guy buy 6 cases of wine from Chicago, and like new client, had never bought before. And so what he decided to do is just Google the guy, and he found his Twitter profile. And on his Twitter profile, it turns out he was a huge Chicago Bears fan. Now at the time, their quarterback was a guy named Jay Cutler. So he, as a gift, sent the guy a Jay Cutler jersey and said, hey, thank you so much for giving Wine Library a try. He calls that the Department of Gratitude and playing offense. So I've kind of taken this concept to the agency space, and I'll give you a real simple example. One of my clients posted, something like, I've been so busy at the office, my poor 4 dogs, I haven't even really seen them. They must miss doggy mama, ha ha ha. So I just sent her, on Amazon, it cost me $12. I sent a thing of dog treats. Okay? And like I said, it cost $12 and a little note that said, hey, this is your apology to the doggos. You make clients light up. It costs $12. You're going to keep those kind of clients. So, that's an example. Is just spend 5 minutes, figure out who they are, what they're into, and then do it based on that. And that's the best gift you're ever going to send. Dylan asks, which service that you guys offer at your agency do you tend to find the most success with in regard to client results and profitability for your agency? Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, web design. I can already tell you web design is generally not it because it's more of a one-time sale for most people. To be honest with you, in terms of long-term success and profitability, and I know this is kind of an evasive answer, but it depends on the niche. Right? So if you're dealing with an e-commerce brand where it's a new product and nobody's heard of it, then you're probably going to have the most success with Facebook ads because they're relatively cheap, especially compared to Google ads. And if there's no search volume, you're going to put it in front of people who wouldn't have otherwise known about it but have those kind of interests. If you're doing it for a local plumber, then SEO or Google search is going to crush Facebook ads. Not saying you can't be successful with Facebook ads, but that's where the buyer intent is. So the question I ask is where are the people buying this now and what stage are they in? So it kind of depends. Do they have awareness of that product and service, and are they searching it? In which case the best thing you can do is get in front of that search. But if they have no awareness, then you got to get in front of them, and tools like Facebook ads can be the best. But I'll tell you, there's stuff that nobody thinks about, which is who are the people who already have those buyers organized, and that traffic almost always beats all of the things you just mentioned. So that's another curveball in there, but it's probably an imperfect answer, Dylan, but it really depends on who you're trying to service as a client. Banejo, identify one sales objection in your prospecting or strategy session, and how do you tackle it to get 100% closing ratio? Banejo, I'll tell you right now, you do not want a 100% closing ratio. I know people think that would be the ultimate, but you actually do want to turn clients away, especially if they're not a fit or if they're a pain in the ass and things like that. So I would say a better number to shoot for is 70-80%. The way to get 70-80% is kind of, I touched on this in the other answer, but is 1, deal with objections before they come up. So once you find out what they keep objecting to, put that into your marketing so that it doesn't come up later in the sales process. Answer that question powerfully in a big way. So I'll give you a real life example of how obvious this is, but nobody does it. There was a friend of mine, he consulted with me and said, hey, I'm working for this bankruptcy law firm and they're shit at answering the phone and they keep blaming us for our Google ads. Can you do a little audit of the process and see where they're at? Now, I heard the same, that's my chicken, by the way, that you guys are hearing in the background. Now, what happened over and over again was the same phone call. Somebody calls up with bankruptcy and says, how much does bankruptcy cost? In other words, objection, money objection, like highlight that, put some stars in it. And they said, well, it depends. And then the person would say, well, I have to talk to my cousin, brother, uncle, blah, 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 I'll call you back. Well, we changed the script on that to, it depends. I would like you to know that your typical average bankruptcy costs between $1,200 and $1,500. And just so you know, we accept payment plans, and we also work with your bill collectors to reduce your existing bills so that when we bring in our payment, it's lower than what you're probably paying now. So we'll actually help you reduce your payments, not increase the amount of payments that you have to make. Would you be interested in scheduling a consultation? The minute you have a powerful way of addressing objections, those things tend to go away. So that's how you want to tackle objections, is figure out what they are and have a powerful way, once you know clearly that's the objection I'm going to get, to deal with that. Daniel says, a question for those with a sales team. We are ramping up our onboarding efforts and building a sales team for the first time. Commission-wise, is there a percentage typical paid for each closed sale? I realize it varies greatly depending on industry. We are an SEO and service price, but interested in knowing what others approach paying sales commission. Daniel, I'll tell you, typical is 10 to 20% of a call, and a lot of times people think, why would anyone want to work with me for 10 to 20% of a call? I actually just had somebody who's hiring a salesperson in our mastermind ask me this question. I go, it's really, really simple. Most salespeople don't want to prospect. They don't want to chase stuff. So if you have inbound leads where they can just jump on the phone, have a conversation, and enroll those people in your thing, 10-20% is a good deal. Now, this is just my 2 cents. I mean, I should say we no longer have a sales team. My sales team is Google Docs and Loom videos. Like, I sell all my stuff just through text now. But having said that, we've definitely built sales teams. And let me tell you, as a general rule, I would err towards paying more than less, because good salespeople are always getting opportunities to sell things, and the only way to keep their attention focused on you is to pay a little bit more than everybody else. So you will find good benefit. Now, as far as determining who are good salespeople, I'll tell you 2 things that will help you shortcut that process. One is give them 5 or 10 sales calls and just see how they do. And I'll tell you, I'm looking for 2 things. 1, can they actually close those calls? And 2, do they do it ethically? Because if they make a bunch of promises that you can't fulfill on, that's not a good salesperson in my book. Like, are they actually promising the things that you do? Or are they making it sound so awesome and hypey that, yeah, you sign clients, but at the expense of the long-term relationship? So those are the 2 things I'm looking for in that. And then the other thing is, whenever you have successful sales calls, record the damn things and turn it into a training. And the best training you can ever give them is just to hear a successful call done. And then what you'll find is most of your salespeople can close if they have recordings they can listen to. Those are the 2 biggest shortcuts I have. Give them a test run and give them example sales calls. You'll have good salespeople out of the deal. Matthew, hey all, recommendations to target small business owners 2 years in. Okay, Matthew. First, I'm going to tell you, business owners is not a specific enough niche, but let's say you do have a niche and you're just asking the question. The way you target people that have established businesses instead of brand new is you talk about symptoms and issues that people 2 years in would have that beginners would not. So, for example, if I run a post or an ad or a direct mail campaign that says, hey, are you a lawyer trying to get your first client, or just trying to get clients in the door, then I'm going to get lawyers who don't have any clients, right? Because I'm talking about the symptom of not having any clients, so I'm only going to attract people who don't have any clients, all right? It just makes sense. If I talk about, for example, a lot of the more successful people have case management software. It's like a CRM in my space, right? Like a Salesforce, or maybe an ActiveCampaign or Aweber or something like that, or an Infusionsoft. Imagine they have like lawyer versions of those. A couple of them are called MyCase, Clio, Needles is another one. So like if I say, are you a Needles user? ? Did you know there's X number of ways to get more out of your CRM that you're not fully exploiting using Facebook ads or whatever it is you do using SEO or whatever? I'm going to speak to somebody who has a CRM, and I'll tell you, only established law firms buy case management software because they have to have enough lead flow to necessitate putting them into a CRM in the first place, right? So the biggest thing to ask yourself is, if a business owner is around 2 years in your space or more, what issues are they going to have that people who are 2 years or less don't? So like if I say, for example, like, hey, are you a lawyer who's running ads on TV and your cases are now costing you more than $1,000 per signed case? Only established lawyers with big budgets who are paying for TV would ever respond to that kind of ad. The beginner lawyer who isn't spending $100,000 on TV just scrolls past it. I forget the name of it. To give you just one more example of this to really cement this home, there is a type of tax that only accredited investors have to file and pay for in America. I couldn't tell you. I'm not American, so I don't know the name. I live in Mexico. I'm actually Canadian born, for those of you guys who didn't know. But let's just call it the ABC tax. And only, like literally only millionaires have to deal with ABC tax. So one of my financial friend advisors ran a campaign, and the headline was, "Did you pay too much in ABC tax this year?" Question mark. Now, 99% of people are just going to scroll right past that ad and go, what the fuck is ABC tax? But the ones who are rich and wealthy go, yeah, I did pay too much ABC tax. So I don't know what ABC tax is in your niche because you weren't really specific, Matthew, but that's what you want to look for, is like, what are the telltale signs that somebody's been in business for a while? You do that, and you'll be able to get as many as you want. Like you want to think of your ad as like a bouncer at a nightclub that's just letting in the right people, letting in the pretty girls, if you will, that is going to fill the club. So you do that by talking to the issues that the right people in your market have and ignoring everybody else. Because I'll tell you, not enough people understand this one thing, which is so key. The number one most important metric in any funnel, advertising, sales process, however you do it, is, are the right people coming out the other side of it? And way too many people get caught up in, this is my click-through rate, this is my opt-in rate. If you get 1,000 opt-ins for beginners and you're trying to sell to established businesses that are 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 years old, then you've effectively done zero, even though you have 1,000 opt-ins, right? So not enough people focus that. If I'm trying to get a big TV lawyer, I would rather have 10 TV lawyers in my funnel than to have 1,000 not. Right? So you got to be really clear and specific about who you're trying to get, and then write messaging that speaks to those people. And then you can target anybody you want anyway in any platform, and it'll always work. So hope that's helpful to you, brother. And just want to reiterate, 2022, I know most of the world is like totally going batshit crazy, by the way, but I just want to announce for you guys, this is going to be a really awesome place to be. I got some exciting new trainings and ideas for you to like really accumulate freedom, lifestyle, and wealth, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys going forward. So I think it's going to be a really exciting year. I know you guys are part of a lot of groups, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out, listening to little old me. I know my production values are shit. I can't tell you the number of people who tell me you need better video and better graphics and all that stuff, but I just like giving you guys the real shit that works in the real world and without all the fluff. I do this for fun. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys this week. I hope you guys had an awesome New Year's. Much love to you guys, and may the force be with you.